The True Ambition podcast with John Zink is brought to you by IT Avalon. IT Avalon, IT staffing and professional services done right. Visit our sponsor at itavalon.com. Now, welcome to True Ambition.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 41st episode of the True Ambition podcast. My name is John Zink, I'm your host, and today I'm honored to be joined by Mr. Marc Ashworth. Marc Ashworth is a Senior Vice President and CISO at First Bank. He's a respected IT executive with over 30 years of experience in cyber and physical security, IT and security architecture, project management, author, and public speaker. He's a board member of the St. Louis chapter of InfraGard, Webster University Cyber Advisory Board. He co-founded the State of Cyber Annual Security Conference and a lifetime member of FBI Citizens Academy. He has security certifications in CISSP, CISM, CRISC, Security Plus, and other certifications. Mr. Ashworth currently oversees First Bank's information security, fraud, physical security, and network services departments. Marc, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Of course. So we were just talking before the podcast. You live in Washington, Missouri.
Yeah.
Where's that at in Missouri?
So we're about 45 minutes from downtown St. Louis. So just kind of southwest of St. Louis, in the
Awesome.
wine country area, really. So
You said it's wine country?
yeah, we got Herman, Augusta, and those areas. That's all kind of surrounds us, and so lots of wineries in this area. So
You know, it's funny. I just moved to Reno, but I was down in the Northern California wine country, close to Napa. And it seems like everywhere you go in the country now, there's some kind of wine country popping up everywhere.
From what I understand, at least parts of the Missouri winery area was around before Napa. That's what I read. So, and actually, some of Missouri's grapes was used to kind of seed Napa Valley. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I read. So that's, give it what's take, right? So third party now. So
Well, hell, and my grandpa used to make dandelion wine. I swear to God, he'd make wine out of anything that he could. So you were born and raised in Union, Missouri, right?
Yeah. So which is just a couple minutes from here, and so I lived there. I lived in Kansas City for a while, and then slowly moved our way back towards home, and we've settled here in Washington. So
Nice.
trying to stay away so we never come back. And then as we had kids, that family being back here kind of changed all that. So
Yeah. So you're married to Kim, and you got two kids, Air and Adam.
Yep.
I like the name Air. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. It's Sierra, but then she goes by Air.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's a pretty cool nickname.
Yeah.
So I would say that you're probably a big fan of the color red. And here's how I see this. Likes the Niners, the Chiefs, and the Cardinals. All red.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. I like red, but that's not my favorite color. So that's
So Kansas City Chiefs, though, you gotta be pretty happy right now.
Oh yeah. It's nice to have a Missouri team win the Super Bowl again. So that part's really nice, So
Yeah, it's that was a great Super Bowl.
yeah, they had the parade today, evidently in Kansas City, from what I heard. So
Yeah, it's cool. It's a fun game to watch. So we talked about it a little bit before the podcast. We're both Midwest guys. I was born and raised in Northwest Illinois. Now, you're more southern part of Illinois, Missouri, down in that area.
Yeah.
What's it like? What was it like growing up there in Union?
So, small town around the time it had 5,000 people back in the.
That's a metropolis compared to where I'm from.
And, I lived on we had a big creek that went down near us, and I practically lived in that creek as soon as I was old enough to kind of be by myself, so, and, we were always, me and my friends, we had a little john boat. We'd take it down to the Burbus River, which was, about a half mile away. We drag that boat down the creek and be fishing all day. And if I wasn't fishing, I was hunting. And so definitely living the outdoors, living the outside, that's for sure.
So were you a city kid or a farm kid?
I was city. I wasn't a farm, but I was country at heart, so it's living the fishing, hunting, and all that sort of stuff. But we did live in town. So
I remember when I was a kid growing up, all the kids that went hunting got days off of school.
during
hunting season.
Yeah, it was guaranteed, the beginning of turkey season or deer season, that me and a couple of my other buddies, we weren't going to be in school until we got something. Usually, the first day or two we would miss. And I had one teacher, he would always be upset about it, but he couldn't complain because I was an A student. And then I had my parents' note that made it okay. So, it was kind of like, but yeah, so it was always, we weren't there for the first couple of days, that's for sure. So.
Well, my dad was not a deer hunter, so I got screwed. So speaking of parents, what did your parents do for work?
So my dad worked for the utility company. He retired there. And then my mom was a stay-at-home mom dealing with me and my sister. So
she had the full-time job and your dad had time away from the family.
Yep.
So siblings, you just kind of mentioned them there. You got how many siblings?
Just one.
And you said a sister?
Yep.
So you kind of talked about it a second ago. What kind of student were you? You said you're a straight A student?
I wasn't straight A, but I was definitely in the upper, section of the class. I had a lot of A's, but I was smart enough to where the teachers that, because I was a kind of a clown to some degree too. So, but I got by with a lot of stuff just because of my grades. I'll just say that much.
So let me ask you. So did it come easy to you, or was it something you had to work at?
No, it came pretty easy for me. I didn't have to work it very much. When later on in college, obviously, it was challenged a little bit more, and probably if I would have applied myself higher in, a few of the courses in high school and stuff, I probably would have been more straight A's. But I did my homework and studied some, but for the most part, it wasn't too challenging.
So were you an athlete as well?
Yeah. I played soccer, did martial arts. Probably should have played a few other sports, but I didn't. So I was asked to, wrestle and to do track and everything, but I didn't. I wasn't interested in that. So.
No, I got a 4-year-old at home, and yes, I'm 50 and I have a 4-year-old at home, but just got Johnny into martial arts, and he's 4 years old. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. But we were having some problems with him at school, with discipline and at home, and they said get him into martial arts.
Yeah, and it's good because it not only does it give them a sense of self-worth and abilities and everything as they get along in confidence, but it helps with balance. It helps with temperament and those sort of things, and all the schools I've been part of, it's a family, and so the people's there to support you and whatever that you're doing, and that's really really big. And it depending on how the school is tailored. Some is tailored more towards sport, some is tailored more toward self-defense. And so depending on how that is, it's a great experience. I highly recommend it. There's so many different styles out there, and allows you to really, continue to learn. And it's, an endless thing. You can really get into it.
So growing up, what was your first job?
My first job was installing outdoor pools. That's what,
The above ground pools?
Yeah, the above ground. So I did that for a summer, and then I did work for an ice company. And so that was my next summer, as well as I installed some pools and stuff that summer too. So
like delivering ice?
Yep, delivering ice, bagging it, and all that sort of things. I definitely had the coolest job of the summer, that's for sure. So
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
So when did you become interested in technology?
So it was around that time there was a little movie came out called War Games, in the mid '80s, and
you want to play a game?
Yep. So I went and watched that and came out and said that's what I want to do. And after that, I was, lucky enough. My parents supported me. They got me an Apple IIe for Christmas, and I started coding and working on things, and that's kind of where it all started. So
I love that movie.
Yep.
So fun. So the funny thing is, so everybody else knows that Ed, who is my keyboard player in my band, is also recording this. Him and I are in an 80s tribute band, and we've got a bunch of video stuff that goes, and that's one of the movies that we kind of have some of the, it's actually that, do you want to play a game, and the whole crowd goes nuts and stuff. It's just really
cool.
So you are the senior vice president and CISO at First Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about First Bank a little bit.
Sure. So we're a fourth generation family owned bank. We're one of the largest family owned banks in the nation. We full service, so we have everything from mortgage, retail, consumer, commercial, wealth management, all that. And we have bank branches primarily in 3 states, but we also have mortgage branches or locations in other states as well. 6 states total. And we're about a $7 billion bank in assets, and it's a great place to work for. We really tailor towards the family-owned businesses because we got a great story to talk about. Being a multi-generational family-owned business, the 5th generation is starting to come in now, and so it's really exciting. That it's always fun working for a family-owned business. I think. They really care about their employees, and it just makes it a great place to work.
So it's a 5th generation of that family coming in now to lead the business.
Right. Yep.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
What's the family?
The Dearberg family. So they have a lot of wineries. So talking to wineries. And then the other side of the family also has a large grocery store chain here in the St. Louis area and a little bit further out as well, called Dearberg's. So.
What I like to do in this podcast is help people out who are looking to move up in their career. Mm-hmm. So what I like to do with you as an executive is tell us about your path to the position you're in today, from the beginning of your career in technology till today.
Sure. So I started out in college. I went to school for computer programming, and in college I worked for a hotel or a couple of hotels, and so that really got myself to understand customer service and working with customers and everything. So I really cherished that background, and I did the audit, the night audits and stuff. So, I've done my time of, working third shift for several years, and, I haven't messed up sleep for about 5 years. And then
let me ask you about your schooling. Yeah. With programming. What programming languages were you studying?
Oh yeah, back then it was COBOL,
mainframe.
Mainframe. So some assembly language, RPG, which is what, whenever I got my first job out of college, I did a lot of RPG work. Pascal, DBase. We didn't really do anything with C. We had some classes on phone systems because it was kind of the early days of, press one for this, two for that. So that was just really becoming, something that was coming out at that time.
You get done with school, moving into your first position, you're working the overnights and stuff. Kind of take us through the rest of the path up to today.
Sure. So like the last year of school, I was working as a computer operator, nighttime computer operator in the mainframe shop. And which worked out good because I worked for about 4 hours. And the last 4 hours, I was kind of done. And so I got to do all my studies and everything. But then when I got out of there, worked for a manufacturing company up in Kansas City and doing RPG programming as well as operational support, PCs. And so I've always kind of been in that hardware side of things and networking side of things. And then shortly afterwards, about less than a year later, I went for another company doing RPG, doing networking. That was on a Novell network, doing some Fox Pro programming at the time. And so, really kind of did that for a while. And then I eventually moved back to St. Louis and did a lot of RPG programming, a bunch of got into consulting, started doing a lot of Y2K conversions, and excuse me, working on a lot of that. And then finally around 2000, I had to kind of make that leap or that decision because I was doing a lot of PC development as well, of either going .NET and learning the .NET environment or Windows 2000 and Active Directory. And I really liked that side of it, the networking side and systems side, because I was able to go to multiple clients in a single day and not just spending months and months or a year at a single client. Even though you get to learn a lot about how businesses work on the development side, it was still more fun to me. And I was getting kind of impatient sitting there at a desk trying to find a semicolon that I put in the wrong spot.
Right.
So then during all that, I started doing auditing of computer systems and networks, and eventually got my CISSP the first time. And then when I did that, everyone but one person on my team got the CISSP, and we were the first 5 people in Missouri that got it, back in 2003 or something like that. And so definitely early on in the cert process. And then a little bit later, I got into healthcare. I left consulting. And during that time, that's when I lost my CISSP because it was just too hard to get CPEs at the time. And I was in that for about 7 years and then switched over to aerospace defense and was in there for about 6 or 7 years. And that's when, because of that, I was doing a lot more security work. So I got my certs back and, excuse me, and a few other certs as well. And then opportunity with First Bank came up. And so I jumped on that and I've been there ever since.
Wanted to pivot just a little bit. Being in security, and a lot of us laymen hear about the different threats that are coming from outside of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Can you fill us laymen in on, all the things that are going on and the different threats you guys are looking at as far as companies and even some of the private things we should be looking out for?
Sure. So, one of the big things, we see, millions of hits and scans and everything that occurs, on a weekly basis. And they're looking constantly for you to slip up and find a vulnerability. So really keeping those systems patched, especially on those that are directly connected to the internet, is critical. The other thing is, really around your users and making sure that you're keeping them trained and phishing. And I know it sounds, you know, almost like beating a dead horse, because you hear all the podcasts talking about, whether we should train for phishing and that sort of stuff. And I really believe that that's still a strong thing that everyone should be doing, and making, the awareness, because, something's going to get through your system. And you can put all the controls in there, but there's still a small percentage of emails or whatever, phone calls or whatever it might be, that that's going to get through your controls, and the users need to be able to know how to recognize that and how to react to it, and that's important. The other thing is around API security. That's a huge target that's continuing to be more prevalent, and continuing to be, becoming one of the number one attack surface really is around APIs for companies that has exposed APIs. So really having good security around those APIs is a big thing as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's interesting since the whole Russia-Ukraine thing happened. I mean, things have just skyrocketed as far
Mm-hmm.
as attacks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we monitor obviously we're constantly monitoring, but from a statistic standpoint and trending, we're monitoring what countries we're seeing a lot of activity, and we've seen cycles with Russia as that's a couple days before a major offensive or something, they might drop on their cyber side, and then after the offensive, it'll jump back up. That occurred during the initial invasion, about 2 days before the initial invasion of Ukraine. We saw the scans and activity coming from Russia dropped, 70%. And then after a course of 2 or 3 days after that time, they started to slowly increase back up. And so that was kind of interesting. So we're watching for that, and we're seeing more and more systems out of other countries becoming a higher scanning or attack surface coming from them, and whether those are compromised systems from Russia or China or whatever it might be, I don't know. But Netherlands especially, we see a lot of scans and everything coming from those areas.
So the people that are doing this is that government? Are these private people? Is it groups of people? Who usually does that kind of stuff?
Yeah, there's hacktivists that's involved as well. When we, IP locate a lot of times, especially from Russian IPs, I mean, it's coming from a building right across the street from the Kremlin. So, assuming
Wow.
that IP location, is correct. I mean, they're not hiding it, and I just heard on another podcast today that, and I need to look it up to verify it, but supposedly some Russian executive or high up in Russian government has stated that if you are attacking enemies of the state, we're basically granting you immunity for those actions. And so whether you're inside Russia or outside of another country, we're not going to prosecute you for doing that. So that's crazy. I mean, it's just driving that to occur for sympathizers of the Russian government. And so with that, we could see more activity occurring with that activity or with that announcement occurring. So
And what are they looking to do? Just disrupt, steal
Mhm.
money, all of the above? I mean, what are they trying to do?
Yeah, mostly, whatever they can do to disrupt is the big thing. Whether they're deploying ransomware, and if the people makes money off of it, fine. They don't care if it's someone that is against the government, or if they do a wiperware or whatever it might be that can harm an organization and bring it down or disrupt them, or whatever works for them. That they really don't care at this point, as long as it can cause some sort of disruption.
So weird. So all over my company for the last, I don't know, 6 months, people keep getting emails from John Zink, and it comes from some other email address disguised as John Zink or Carissa Zink, my wife. And it's just always some weird message, something about gift cards or some kind of crap, and it's like, it's gotten to a place where they've actually responded to it and then found out afterwards, oh, that's not John.
Yeah. And, there's definitely controls, DKIM, DMARC, and those sort of things to put on your email servers and DNS that can help control that a little bit. But that's where really that training of those users to look for that and make sure, especially if they're asking, for you to, or that person to do something monetarily wise to verify, pick up the phone and call John Zink. Don't just reply back to the email, so, especially transfers or, outlays of, large sums of money, there should be processes in place for double verification and not just through chat or email. So.
Yeah. And when's the last time I asked for gift card money?
Right. That should be a red flag right there if someone's asking to go buy gift cards, but man, we see it all the time.
So what's back to you and your career? What excites you today about your job and your work?
It's the constant change. When you're in security or IT, it's a lifelong learning experience, I think.
Yeah, it never ends.
Never ends. And I think I always thought it was pretty heavy on the networking and the system side and everything, because things were changing, I won't say rapidly, but, frequently. But then when you get into security and really embrace security, I mean, it's changing daily. It's changing sometimes, several times a day. So, that constant change is, to me, exciting, and it's really where, the passion is, and more so than trying to determine what's the next best solution or what's, way to, better, I don't know, do something from a technology standpoint. To me, it's like, how can I protect that, or what solution out there is better to protect that? And, I still like being strategic. I still like to find ways for improvement. And it's that, consulting component of me of, better ways of, or more efficient ways of doing things. I still cringe anytime someone says on any team, well, we've always done it that way. I think that's the most dangerous words in business.
Yeah.
And so anytime I hear that, then even if it's something that it's not underneath me, then it's like, okay, well, what can we find to do something better there to improve that? So then, I kind of almost switch to a CIO type role then whenever I hear those type words sometimes. But, so it's just that constant change and working with people and talking about it, evangelizing about security. That's why I do these things. It's just, to help, get people aware of it, and that, we need to take it seriously.
Well, and for people who are watching or listening to this podcast, I think it's a very important lesson to learn that I've seen many people who are stuck in their ways. And in technology, you better not be stuck in your ways.
Right.
Because you look at what happened with the pandemic and all these, I've been in IT staffing for 27 years. And for so many years, I was telling managers, listen, I can get you someone remote that can do this job. And oh, no, I got to have somebody on site. As soon as that pandemic hit, every manager I worked with said, I'll take anybody anywhere. And, now what's happened is I think it's over 60% of the people are working either remote or hybrid. And it's going to stay that way, and to see the change in mindset from people like, I got to have somebody on site to, oh, okay, that's fine. It'll work. And it's working just fine. And actually what they're finding out is people are more productive now than they were prior.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And it kind of made me think about that when you said, well, that's just the way it is, or we can't
Yeah.
change because this is the way we do things. Well, better get used to the new way of doing things because things change every day in technology.
Yeah. I live about 40 minutes now from our office. And so I leave pretty early to avoid the traffic, but it's St. Louis traffic. And, if there's one raindrop, then everyone, forgets how to drive. And, and, so yeah, one day I came in, we're hybrid. I go in 1 to 2 days a week. Now it's 2 days a week, but at the time I was going in 1 day a week. And I was 45 minutes late. Now, keep in mind, I've been driving since 6 o'clock. I normally get there about 7:15, something like that. I'm showing up at 8:30. I was livid. I was like, it's like, this is the argument for, not being in the office because of, and I had people that lived 15 minutes from there. They're showing up 30 minutes late, and it's like, this is why, or one reason why work from home is more efficient, because I just lost out on, as an executive, an hour's worth of time, of my time and of the company's time of being efficient, because I'm sitting in a car and the traffic was moving enough to where, you can't, even get over to, bring up your phone to jump on a call or anything on that line. Cause I try not to, do that, especially if I'm dialing out. It's one thing if someone calls me, I could answer with a click of a button, but
Right.
It's another thing if you're having to jump on a meeting or something. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. And, so, it's like I lost out on efficiencies. There was a lot going on there in that time. And I was just, furious off of that. And so, there's definitely a lot to be said about work from home. And then there's, but then when I'm in the office, I do enjoy actually seeing someone in person and talking to them, or, being available to where someone can stop me in the hallway and say, hey, this kind of came across, what do you think of that? That conversation wouldn't have happened if I was working from home. They probably wouldn't have thought of me to ask that question, otherwise, but since I was walking by, they did, so there's, that collaborative part is definitely there when you're in the office, but there's definitely, I think, a lot of efficiencies for passionate people to work from home. There's obviously challenges, especially as a manager, to manage people that, especially new people, because you're trying to build that trust and stuff. Right. And, that's a challenge, and in security, there's turnover. So when you bring someone in really trying to, it's like, I don't care that you have to step away and do this or that, just as long as you get your hours in for the day, and you're during most of the time you're available. And if you're going to step away for a period of time, just let the team know, hey, I got to step away for 30 minutes to go do this. That's fine. I don't care about that. But if you're stepping away and not letting anyone know, now I'm trying to reach out to you, now I have issues, so it can be a challenge, manage that work from home environment.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see our people, because I've got recruiters, account managers, all these people that are working remote. And at the time when it happened, had 3 different offices full of people. Mm-hmm. And then when it hit, boom, everybody's gone. I was one of the only people going to the office because I couldn't stand to work from home because I had a 1.5-year-old there and it was not good.
Yeah.
So went in and just to watch the way people changed overnight. Mm-hmm. And just to see, necessity is the mother of invention. Everybody changed within a week. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy to see that as a business owner and just to watch it all unfold. It was an interesting time.
Yeah. My teams went home before the rest of the company did, because we were testing the VPNs and trying to load test and make sure everything was working and how things would react and all that sort of things. And so, we got to kind of, see on what was needed and what was going to happening. And then as we started bringing operational people, they're like, oh, I need to print this, I need to print that. And it's like, well, why? Well, it's in a PDF and I print this so I can look at it, or I highlight this. And then once we showed them how to do it, through Adobe Reader, they're like, oh my gosh, why did I know this before? Like this would have saved so much time, and, I think one industry that definitely had to be hit hard was the printing, printers. I mean, we've reduced our fleet, dramatically off of that. And a lot of stuff that we used to print, we don't. And then, things like DocuSign and the others has helped out a lot. There's still a lot of printing in the banking business because of needing wet signatures, because not every state or county, will accept an electronic signature and stuff. So that makes it challenging sometimes. But yeah, there's still a lot of printing, but not as much as it used to be. That's for sure.
Well, they need to change that as soon as possible, because
Yeah.
DocuSign and electronic signatures is like the best thing ever.
Oh, I agree.
So, well, going back to personal now,
Mhm.
who's a person? Well, kind of personal. It's kind of personal and business. There's two questions. Who's a person in your business life, in your career,
Sure.
who was someone who mentored you and was very special to you in your business life?
I would say I didn't really have a mentor, someone that kind of was with me through a longer period of time. But there was, definitely people throughout my career that I looked up to and watched and tried to incorporate what they did. There's definitely a lot of, people that has been very supportive of me, at other levels, and, from CEO on down. So that's been helpful. There's one of there used to be a client of mine, and then I started working for him there in the aerospace. There was Keith and Sydney Geller. They have always been really supportive of me, and their style and caring for people and everything was always really big on how both of them worked with how they conducted themselves and everything. And there was another person who was a manager of mine, Denise Rubson, that was always a big influence. And then even my current boss, Balin Abanaputi, he's always been really supportive. He's been just the way he's so smart, and just, I'm not trying to suck up to him or anything like that if he sees this. So
Total brown nose.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do that, but he's just so logical thinking, and he just the way that he's been supportive of me, and just and how just the relationship that we have and everything. And we have similar backgrounds and everything too, from a professional experience of starting off in coding and then working our ways up to management and senior management and stuff too. So there's a lot of similarities. We actually worked for the same consulting company. He left at the time I was kind of coming on, so that was kind of interesting tidbit at the time. So, but it's people like that really is been more influential to how they do things, and I've tried to pull that in because I like the way they might have worded something at some point, or how they handled a situation, those sort of things. So
learn from other people, learn from their mistakes, learn from their triumphs, and try not to make the same mistakes yourself, and try to follow the leader as far as people making good examples.
Yeah.
So who is the person or people in your personal life that have meant the most to you?
Yeah, my grandparents, my parents, my wife. I mean, she's definitely my better half, and she was in management for many years, and so if I have a challenge, I'll talk to her about it, and she'll also, well, you might want to handle it this way, or you might want to, or you did not word that good, that sort of stuff.
Isn't that always the best?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I know, as soon as I said it, but it's like, next time you might try this or say it this way. It's like, good idea, I like that. But yeah, definitely family has been a huge influence. So
awesome. Well, we're going to end the podcast the same way we always do, which is this is called the True Ambition Podcast. And what we like to do is find out from you. You've been a lot of places, you've done a lot of things professionally and personally. What is your true ambition in life, both personally and professionally, moving forward?
Yeah, for me, it's all about family, and I try to spend, and I want people to spend time with their family and not just live to work. And I with my teams, when they, if they're working 50 hours one week, then I try to give them a day off or something, or half a day or something, just to kind of give that time back. To where they can spend time with their family, because it goes by way too quick.
Right.
And, I really believe we're here to do more than just work. Now, obviously, it's an important part, and I enjoy working. I really enjoy doing the things I do. And, the constant learning and, keeping an open mind on that, and the challenge of, security to me is just a lot of fun. And I'm passionate about it, and I think that's really what everyone needs to do. Find something that they're passionate in, whether it's numbers or security or computers or writing, whatever it is. Just find out what your passion is, and you can make a living off of that. And hopefully, you'll pick security, because that's where I'm at, and we're always looking for people. Whether it's, my company or some other company, there's such a shortage. And, but really just having a passion in what you do, and then take that passion around your family and work with your family.
Well, that's the old adage, isn't it? That find something you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of the way I feel about the road that I've gone down. Is like, like I told you prior to, I'm a musician, fell into technical recruiting by mistake 27 years ago. And now here I sit owning a company, and, talking to you on the True Ambition podcast. So it's just like, you never know where it's going to lead you. But I'm so glad that I fell into it, because this is my favorite thing I've ever done. So again, I appreciate you joining me on the True Ambition podcast. It's been a great conversation, and I'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Sounds great. I enjoyed it, and thanks for having me, inviting me.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the True Ambition podcast. This is John Zink, and we'll talk to you next time.
The True Ambition podcast is brought to you by IT Avalon. For more information and links to other episodes, please visit www.trueambition.org. Now, go find your true ambition.